$1.7 trillion omnibus spending bill to keep the government funded throughout the congressional break and throughout the swearing in of the next Congress has been passed by the Senate. 4,155 pages long, and notably there were a lot of last-second amendments. Vote-a-thon is typical with these huge bills. Senators can bring up any amendment that they want, and that's related to provisions in the bill, and have a whole Senate-wide vote on their amendments, and just majority is required to get those amendments in, and the overall bill passing 68-29, so pretty broad bipartisan support from Republicans, and Mitch McConnell saying that this was a win for Republicans because of increasing in military funding, but in the House, Kevin McCarthy is very strongly opposed to the bill and is trying to get all of his fellow Republican colleagues to not vote for it. But the notable amendments, as this article says, that got added to this bill at the last second: the Pump Act, Jeff Merkley from Oregon, 92-5 vote, strengthening breastfeeding protections for workers, pretty broadly supported and common sense legislation there. Um, Compensation for victims of terrorism, the 9/11 attacks, and other attacks in the Middle East in the 1900s. More compensation going towards the victims of those attacks on 93-4. So more very broad support. Only a few senators voting against both of those. Using forfeited property to help Ukraine, so people who've been sanctioned by the Secretary of Treasury or Secretary of State, the property that belongs to them will be now given to Ukraine to further help in their war efforts. Voice vote here, so that means there was no Republican opposition. Another act to help mothers and soon-to-be mothers, pregnant fairness workers act. This one a little more opposed, 73-24, but still broadly bipartisan. Basically preventing discrimination based on pregnancy status from employers, and requiring employers to make accommodations for pregnant women to be able to have more breaks and more accommodations as they're working. Payment for Navy lieutenant who was part of a car crash in Japan that was determined to be due to his medical condition, falling asleep behind the wheel, 2 people dying, and another voice out there, which means no support, by no opposition by anyone. So going beyond the big provisions, the Electoral Count Act, the Title 42 measures that were in this bill, those were the minor changes that were in, are still significant and affecting a lot of people, and noteworthy, but not really in the main news, but still important to touch on that and take a look at what amendments got passed during the vote-a-thon.